Mr. Inozemtsev, thank you so much for taking the time to briefly talk about the situation in Kazakhstan. As a result of price increases, the social unrest is transformed into a political movement. Can this lead to constitutional reform, implying change following the Georgian model?
Look, I don't fully understand what do you mean by Georgian model. My general opinion is no, because the situation is so severe and the changes that will follow might be very profound. So therefore, I would say that it's not about the constitutional reform, it's just about the complete reshuffle of power elite in the country and actually a new start for the whole political system. So I don't know what they will start with, but definitely it would be, I think, the change in the structure of the government, in the electoral system, they will abolish all this, I would say, double institutions, which part of them were reporting to Nazarbayev, part was reporting to Tokayev. So my point is that it would be a completely new start for Kazakhstan statehood after the Nazarbayev clan will be dismissed from the power, and most probably Tokayev will take over as I would say as a little bit more liberal leadership. I compare this to the events in South Korea in the 80s when the liberal dictatorship came down, and it was substituted by even more liberal and not so much authoritarian government, which then subsequently, 10 years later, led to the restoration of democracy. So it's a huge and long process which will not overnight change Kazakhstan into a democratic country with separation of powers and whatsoever. So I think we are in the start of a long journey, and I actually do not feel we can compare it to any kind of experience in the post-Soviet space.
I see. And what does this shift mean for the Russian leadership?
Look, the Russian leadership, in Russia, you have two different attitudes these days. One part of the analysts pretend to say that this was a kind of, move even orchestrated by the Russians, because Mr. Putin presumably wanted, to gain more control in the south. So these protests were inspired from outside, and then the Russian leadership chose to send troops there to establish full control over the Kazakhstan as a part of, Greater Russia. I don't believe in this. Putin is not so bold for organizing revolts in neighboring countries and then to pacify them, because it's a very risky enterprise. So my point is that Russia is now a little bit, I would say, disoriented. This was very untimely event for Mr. Putin, because he is now going to start negotiations with the Western countries about, the security guarantees, and he pretended to be, the natural leader of the post-Soviet space. And now you have not only Ukraine revolting, but also Kazakhstan, which was considered to be a loyal ally. And this is actually a huge blow for him, as I believe. For the domestic Russian policy, I think there are two consequences. First of all, no one will definitely speak about any kind of transiting power from Putin as a national leader to some other person, because this, dual government or interregnum was actually, I think, a quite significant factor in what happened in Kazakhstan. So for Mr. Putin, the major lesson from these events is that he should, consolidate his power eternally and don't make any kind of attempts to transfer it somehow or to change the composition of power. But the next point, which is much less obvious, is that Russia as Kazakhstan is plagued by economic problems. The disposable incomes are not rising for around 8 years, exactly the same time as it was in Kazakhstan. And inequality in the society is also very high, as it is actually in the regional aspects, because Kazakhstan, one of the problems in Kazakhstan is that Astana or Almaty is much richer than remote regions of the country, and also the regions where the most of oil and gas is extracted. So the same situation we have in Russia. So therefore, the responsible government would definitely address the economic issues and the economic concerns of the population, but I'm not sure that Mr. Putin will do exactly this. Most probable, he will just strengthen the security forces. So for Russia, from my point of view, the Kazakh situation poses a lot of challenges. But how will they be anticipated in the Kremlin? No one knows.
See. And do the events in Kazakhstan have an impact on the relationship between Russia and Ukraine?
Look, I don't think so. I would even say that these events in Kazakhstan can actually divert a lot of the attention of the Kremlin from Ukraine in front to the new disturbance in the south. And actually, Kazakhstan is or has been a quite important element of the Kremlin's policy, because it was a backbone for Eurasian Economic Union, and actually this union was depicted or presented by the Kremlin as Russia's huge success in reintegration of the post-Soviet space. So this is actually once again a very important blow for Mr. Putin's enterprise. And if this whole structure crumbles, of course, Ukraine, maybe it would not be considered like a secondary issue, but nevertheless, for some time at least, Russia's attention will be focused on Kazakhstan, not on Astana, not on Kiev. And so therefore, I would say that for Ukrainians, this is my personal opinion, it's a very timely event, which actually will divert Russia's attention from Ukraine to its southern neighborhood.
And could this diversion of attention also affect the dialogue between Russia and the US?
It can actually. Once again, I would repeat that this dialogue for Russia would be much more, problematic because of these events. Because now, when Russia once again says it wants to get some guarantees for its own security, the natural questions from the Western part is why you are asking for the guarantees for yourself, sending troops not only to Donbass or occupying Crimea, but also intervening in the affairs of neighboring countries. So this is one point of the question. And another point is that how can Russia pretend to outlaw the NATO installments in post-Soviet space when it itself can guarantee the security and peaceful development there. So why should Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan or other Central Asian countries be so loyal to Russia if there is no security guarantees in the Central Asia, except maybe of more powerful Western presence? So in every case, I think the dialogue would be much more complicated after these Kazakh events, and we will see it as it starts on January 10th. And nevertheless, I would say that a lot of American officials already mentioned that most part of the Russian proposals are non-negotiable because they contradict to the NATO principles and to further to earlier American commitments. So I think these negotiations, which I never predicted they can be easy, and and successful, I think in this case it will be even more problematic.
I see. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.